far
closer to the most active time of hurricane season. September 10th is the peak of the season, and we will continue to watch anything developing across the Atlantic basin. But nothing of immediate concern, because you can pretty much see the overall picture of the Atlantic shows quiet conditions, the Gulf of Mexico, much of the Caribbean Sea here. We have been watching an upper level cold area of low pressure here. It's not a tropical system, doesn't have many tropical characteristics associated with it, but it's still spinning here, and it has been moving a little bit to the north and east, and it has been a very slow mover, and only for that reason are we concerned, because if it does not move much over the next 72 hours, there is a chance that perhaps this system could start to gain or take on some tropical characteristics, but for now it's just an area of low pressure. It's a cold core system. We have been watching this tropical wave, and it's quite interesting because it has sustained quite a bit of convection over the last 12 to 24 hours, and that's one indication that this system could be holding together, could be organizing a little bit more. But the upper air winds just to the west are a little bit unfavorable for this system to continue developing as it moves west, because winds aloft here have been out of the west and they are pretty strong. So this is pretty much a hostile environment for this particular tropical wave, but we will keep you posted and continue to watch it. As a matter of fact, let's zoom in a little bit closer now on our area of low pressure here, this cold core system. We have had some thunderstorm activity. Of course, this is a stalled frontal boundary here, and the system just continues to churn the waters. Kind of choppy now off the coast here of the Carolinas up toward the mid-Atlantic, and we do think that this system will start to slowly move off to the north and east, but if it is slower than projected, it will definitely bear watching, because the longer it sits here, the better chance it has of becoming a tropical system, quote unquote. So we will definitely keep you posted on this. Let's show you what's going on, because we've had some thunderstorm activity over Cuba this morning and the southern Bahamas, but this is not an organized tropical system at all, just some thunderstorm activity, little squally weather over the general area. The eastern Caribbean Sea is quiet. You can see the windward, the leeward islands here. We have some higher level clouds, but you can see how these clouds are wisping off toward the east. That's because we have very strong winds aloft out of the west. And again, it is those strong winds that will perhaps inhibit this particular tropical wave from developing anymore as it moves into this very hostile environment that's already taken place over the eastern Caribbean Sea. Now, this is one tropical wave, and another just to its east. This is that same one from a different vantage point. Here's another just west of the Cape Verde Islands, and another just east of the Cape Verde Islands. Both of these waves we will watch for you, but for now they seem to be fairly small and not too organized, but we will keep you posted as they both continue to move westward. As we keep going westward, we'll cross all the way from the Atlantic and move back to the East Pacific, and we've been watching Hurricane Jimena with winds down to 115 miles an hour. It's moving to the northwest at 10 miles an hour, so it's almost moving due north with a little bit of a component to the west. And you can see where it's centered. It's over 1,200 miles east of the Hawaiian Islands. It still has some convection with it, but at least the eye of the storm is starting to enclose, if you will, with some cirrus clouds, so we don't really see the eye too much. And it'll continue to weaken, we think, as it moves into cooler waters and
towards the west. So again, overall, the Atlantic basin remains rather quiet. But as we head over towards the Pacific, that's when things really start to get quite active in the tropics. Here we have Hurricane Jimena in the East Pacific. This is still a Category 3 hurricane, a major hurricane, and it's actually increased somewhat with its speed here. At least the maximum winds now up to 120 miles an hour, and it continues to pull off towards the north-northwest. And it appears as if it's getting a little bit better organized. The eye of the hurricane was not really discernible earlier this morning, but now you can clearly pick out the eye of the hurricane and some very deep convection right around the center of circulation as it continues to pull off towards the north-northwest. Right now, it's not posing a threat to any land area, a long ways away from any land mass. Here's Baja California, and over here is Hawaii. So again, basically churning up the open waters in the East Pacific.
Now, the El Nino, as far as this manifestation in the Pacific, is abnormally warm water. And where you see this dark red here from along the coast of Peru, extending out about 90 degrees or about a quarter of a way around the globe, temperatures are decidedly above normal. And that's what happens in an El Nino. But having all that warm water, all that heat source and all that energy source has far-reaching consequences, and it has some in the Atlantic. And the consequences that it does have in the Atlantic during hurricane season is generally to have fewer hurricanes than normal. Now, we don't know whether that's going to be the case this year, but we suspect that this El Nino may be having an effect on the fact that it's been very quiet ever since July. To be sure, we've had 4 storms already this year, but the 4 occurred in the last day of June and in the month of July. Now, okay, Jimena here in the Pacific, 1,100 miles away from Hawaii, has increased a little bit. It's up to 130 miles an hour. It is moving toward the north-northwest, and despite the fact that it has increased today, we expect it to begin to weaken pretty soon and to do so pretty rapidly. And there it is again, and there you see the big island of Hawaii. Now, take you out to the West Pacific. We have